Okay, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I have an amazing guest on, and as you know, we're talking all about fear, how to walk through it, how to encourage one another in this journey of walking through one fear per year. So, thank you, Kim, for joining us, and let's dive in right away. I want to know, what is one fear that you feel like you have made really good progress in overcoming? Like what is something that you initially have struggled with fear-wise and you have made progress in walking through?
That's a really big question. And I'm just going to be really honest. I'm going to give you my biggest one, which is uncharacteristic of me. Normally, I'd give you a smaller one, but I'm going to tell you the real one. My biggest fear in the last year, I went all in on becoming a professional public speaker. And my biggest fear was not being, I guess, important enough or famous enough or popular enough to really be known. That was absolutely terrifying for me. I felt like I was stepping into an arena with a lot of really accomplished people with amazing stories. And I was literally terrified that I did not belong.
I love you, first of all. I love you for sharing that. And you are not alone in that fear because I was right there alongside you. Same feelings, same fears. So I want to know, with feeling these things that are very human to feel, what were some things that you did in this last year to help you move through those fears?
I did a couple things. The first is I invested in myself. That was really hard for me. I've spent a lot of time building businesses, investing in other people. I'm really good at lifting other people up. It's what I do. Investing in myself and my biggest dream was a big step. And so I did that right at the beginning as evidence that I actually do believe in myself. And I do believe that this is real and I can do it. I also continued to just take action, even when I felt terrified, even when I felt like I didn't know if I was going to succeed. I kept focusing on the fact that I feel called to do this. And I would just keep taking steps, even when I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I just kept detaching from the outcome and putting no pressure on myself for it to be a certain way. And then the third thing, I think the most important thing I did was I kept reminding myself that I have unique gifts and talents that are mine. And my voice is unique to me. And the way I show up is unique to me. And every one of us is different and we have something different to share. And we're incomparable. And so every time I would get scared and think about, I don't belong here. I don't deserve to be here. I don't know if I'm good enough. I would remember that in fact I do have something unique that is special and important, and I would focus on the message that I'm here to share with people.
I love that. And what I think is so interesting is that it is a human condition to struggle with fear. And why do you think we as human beings get stuck or allow fear to really debilitate us in our lives?
Well, I think we all have this desire to be accepted and loved and known. And so we're constantly looking around to see what we need to do and who we need to be to gain that acceptance. And we're unable to see ourselves through an objective lens. So, we're looking around and seeing everything that is not us, right? Because nobody is as we are. And so there's a lot of evidence and a lot of messages about what we're supposed to be in order to fit in, or in order to be good enough, or in order to be right. And a lot of people have opinions about what that path looks like. And so it's very easy to get stuck in an idea of, I need to be this certain way, or I need to do things a certain way, and to feel like what you're doing isn't enough. And so I think it's easy to get caught there, right? But I also think that understanding, I really think we all do feel that way. and recognizing that no one knows what we're capable of better than we do. I mean, truly, nobody knows. And so that fear, while it's normal and designed to keep us safe and keep us from humiliating ourselves or whatever, is also something that we can choose to just kind of continue moving through, knowing that we're the only ones who can test it and disprove it.
Right, because one thing is fear of being eaten by a lion, right? Where we know,
Which is
okay,
bad.
this is real bad. Like this could
Yeah.
go bad, and we're protecting ourselves from death.
Yeah.
And then there's a completely different thing, which is like the fear of being criticized, let's say, the fear of being judged. Like you said, the fear of not being good enough, which of pretty much everybody that I've talked to, that is a common thread throughout, is just this fear of not being enough. What do we need to do to ease that fear for ourselves of not being enough?
I think it's hard. I'm going to say, like, I think that's a hard one. And I also think that recognizing again that what we're measuring enough against is so subjective. It's other people's ideas about what enough looks like, or, so when you come back to the fact that what you have to offer to the world, it is inherently enough. We are inherently enough. Like just by existing, we're enough. And what we offer, when it comes from a place of service and a place of love and a place of open-hearted generosity is enough, just by virtue of existing and being there and offering it. And I think of it as, instead of focusing on being afraid of it not being enough to someone else, I think about how it feels in my heart to withhold it, right? It's so generous to give what you're here to give. Even if it impacts one person or makes one person's life better, we feel good when we're giving our gifts, and showing up that way. And so I think, taking the focus away from myself and what I feel and wanting to be viewed a certain way and focusing more on what I have to give can really help us move out of that paralyzed fear state, focusing more on how I show up for you.
Oh, I love that. What would you say if you were to pick another word, a singular word, to be the opposite of fear? What comes to mind? No right or wrong answer, just what for you would be the most opposite of fear?
Most opposite of fear. Possibility.
Mm,
Possibility. Because we don't really know anyway. So why not consider what's possible?
yes, and I've heard that fear can be viewed two ways. It's either um, something like face the fear and run, or face the fear and rise. Something like that. I probably said it wrong, but
Love that.
basically, it's like the concept of you're running from it or you're rising to meet it. So if people are thinking, okay, I have debilitating fear in my life, I want to be set free. Do you have any suggestions as to how they can face that fear and rise?
I do, but it's easier said than done. Look straight at it. Look at it and do not look away, no matter what. Just look at it. Because the thing is that we're so busy avoiding it and protecting ourselves and doing everything around it to not actually walk straight through it. For me, when I'm terrified, even if I can't move, even if I'm literally just frozen in my tracks, when I look straight at the thing I'm scared of and just stand there and look at it, it becomes less scary, right? Then I can make a plan of how I want to move through it or what I want to do. But avoiding it, talking yourself out of it, trying to tell yourself it's not that bad. I always tell myself, like, yeah, it freaking is that bad. It is scary. Okay, so what? Now what? What do I want to do about it? Right? Like, don't deny it. Don't avoid it. Don't find another word for it. Just freaking look at it and move through it, because we are so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And we're so much braver. We're so much stronger. And it's like, give yourself the credit, right? You can look at it and handle it. And that's really what I do. And it's super uncomfortable. Like, I'm not going to lie about that. It is pretty terrifying the first, few hundred times you do it, but it also is the only way. We have to move through it or we don't ever grow and get to do the things we're really meant to do.
Ah, yes. Grow and experience and being courageous in this life. Now, I'm a big believer in accountability and people being around us so that we can encourage each other on this journey. What is your thought about incorporating other people into our one fear per year journey?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think you have to choose carefully. And here's why. I have had many experiences where I tell somebody what I'm going to do. And if I've chosen the wrong person who's also got a lot of fear, they'll tell me, that's crazy. What are you doing? Don't do that. Oh my gosh, that's a terrible idea. And that will reinforce my own fear. And sometimes it'll set me back a little bit. And then I have to remuster my ability to move through it. So I think finding people who are going to be like, yes, you've got this. Let's go. I'm going to hold you accountable. What do you need from me? How can I support you as you move through your fear? There is no substitute for that. That's freaking amazing. But looking for people to give you permission to attack your fears, looking for people to give you encouragement who are ridden with the same fears is more difficult. So I fully agree that that's a really good idea. And I think you have to pick. You have to pick
Oh,
your tribe carefully.
that's so true. That is so true. And as one who has a very active, I like to call it monkey mind, where my thoughts, I ruminate a lot. Do you have any specific tools, techniques, things that you do to help with a ruminating mind that seems to go back to worry and back to fears and like worst case scenarios?
Yeah, I think it's really funny because I didn't meditate for a really long time. And my sister she's a yoga instructor and like this incredibly calm, ethereal being. And she was like, you need to meditate. And I was like, I don't have time to meditate. Like I'm too busy to meditate. Because I also am like a go, go, go person. But the truth is that I've really worked on a practice for presence and coming back to in this moment, is everything okay? In this moment right now, am I okay? And the answer is always yes. Like, no matter what, I'm like in this moment, everything is really fine. And I always also ask myself the things that I'm afraid of, is it really true? And do I know for sure? And the answer inevitably is I don't know, because if I'm afraid, it's a projection of something that might or might not happen in the future. And so I just bring myself back to if I can choose the best case scenario or the worst case scenario, why would I torture myself with the worst case scenario? Right. And by the way, if the worst case scenario happens in that moment, I will still be okay. I have fallen on my ass a lot. I have failed a lot, as part of my journey to get braver and do big things. And the truth is, it stings, but I'm still here. So I'm pretty confident that no matter what happens, I'm going to be all right in that moment. And so I just encourage people to just stay really present in this moment. Everything is always okay.
Did you happen to get that from Byron Katie? Does that ring a bell?
I didn't. I actually read Eckhart Tolle, which is a tough read, but like so awesome.
Yes. So similarly, I do love his stuff. And then Byron Katie, she has this thing called The Work. So if you ever want to check it out, anybody that's listening to this, it's thework.com and it's all a free resource where she asks, or you ask yourself 4 questions. And when you're working through tough situations or scenarios in your mind, and it starts with, is it true? And then the second one is, can I absolutely know that it's true? So those are the first 2 questions anyway. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's Byron Katie that she's
I love
referencing.
that. I
Yeah,
love
it's really a great resource.
because we tell ourselves a lot of stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really good at telling myself stories, but if I'm being honest, a lot of times they're not true, right? Our mind is trying to keep us safe from, all the things we're conditioned to be afraid of. And it takes a lot of work and dedication to break through that, but it's so worth it.
So worth it. And as a last question to wrap up, since this is one fear per year, is there anything that you have in your mind as far as next year, something that you want to do, an activity, a fear that you would like to face in the next year?
Yes, and if I say it out loud, then I'm going to have to do it. So,
My
but I will.
plan has
But
worked.
I will. I am going to learn how to surf.
Surf?
Surf, yes. I am absolutely terrified of deep water, like the ocean, deep water. I've been caught in riptides 3 times. Like I am a magnet for almost drowning. And I really want to learn how to surf because I understand that there's like this incredible calm and serenity and joy. I love boats and like being on top of the water, but in the water, not as much. And so I just have in my mind, like, this is a fear I really want to conquer. And I'm so afraid. I'm terrified, but I'm going to do it.
I love this. Okay, I'm going to check in with you 1 year from now because
Shit.
I am your accountability partner.
Okay. I love it.
Because truly, then you will have this amazing experience to be able to tell everybody about surfing and how glorious it was. And even though your heart's pounding and it is terrifying, you'll go with a great instructor, somebody who can help keep you safe and have an amazing experience. So thank you so much for joining me and sharing your truth and your heart. And everybody be encouraged to walk through your own fear this year.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing.
Mwah.
Mwah.